let's get into it. Let's start with the first bowl, the Myrtle Beach Bowl in Conway, South Carolina, home of Coastal Carolina, who will not be here. They will be heading many miles away to Hawaii. Between Georgia Southern and Ohio, Georgia Southern is a 3.5 to 4 point favorite here, over under 48. This game will be played kickoff at 11 a.m. Eastern. Get things started nice and early on Saturday, December 16th. I think a lot of people from Ohio go to Myrtle Beach. They vacation there. I think there's a high percentage. Not sure how many Ohio alum or fans are going to travel down here, considering Ohio's roster is decimated. Curtis Rourke, their starting quarterback, hit the transfer portal. He's going to get some looks from some Power 5 teams. I'm hoping Indiana. I'd like to bet their win total with Signetti and Rourke. Their starting wide receiver, Miles Cross, hit the portal. You got to remember earlier this season, they already lost one of their most explosive receivers, Jacoby Jones. Their 2 starting running backs, Bangura and Allison, also hit the portal. And one of their best linebackers, Key Thompson, who will probably get some Power 5 looks, he hit the portal. So this is a team that they could be down, and their backup quarterback is already out. So they could be down from early in the season. Their top 2 quarterbacks, their top 2 running backs, and 2 of their top 3 receivers. So with CJ Harris, their backup out, that means Parker Navarro is going to get the start. He's first on the depth chart, so there's no questions about Rourke potentially playing here. When they line up on the field on Saturday, he comes out, he's going to be the team's leading rusher on the roster with 107 yards. So he's gotten in some garbage time, and the leading passer with 65 yards. So this offense, which is already there's zero explosiveness, one of the least explosive offenses in the country. Now you're down to a shell unit. Georgia Southern, meanwhile, their leading rusher, Jalen White, didn't play in the season finale, so and neither did their outside linebacker, Isaac Walker, but they don't have any meaningful opt-outs, so it looks like they care here. Georgia Southern ended the season with 4 straight losses. They start out the season 4-2, finished 2-4. It was a bad finish of the year, but if you look historically, you actually want to bet these teams that they're on losing streaks, non-covering streaks, and the opposite's true for teams that are on against the spread and winning streaks. High level, generally speaking, those teams have been good bets historically. Georgia Southern's defense is bad. If you look at, for example, points per opportunity, anytime anyone gets a chance to score, they score. However, I can't see this Ohio offense. It's hard to project with so many backups. They could look like Iowa, like a MAC Iowa from who I'm projecting to be out there. Now there's some element of surprise, and Georgia Southern's defense isn't any good, but this is an Ohio offense that couldn't do much even games against really bad MAC defenses. And Georgia Southern is going to get their points. So even at 3.5, I still like Georgia Southern. I like the favorite here. The other thing to mention with the motivation, all these guys for Ohio, a team that was supposed to be in the MAC championship, right? Favored to get to the MAC championship, signals maybe a lack of motivation, lack of care here. Do they really care about this game? So I like the favorite here to kick things off. What are you seeing here?
Yeah, this has taken a lot of movement. This opened up with Georgia Southern being an underdog. If you got that number, great. We're in the driver's seat. If you got it at pick, great. I think if you got Georgia Southern -3, great. At some point, you have to ask, when have I gone a little bit too far? Because, full rosters, full health, I would have made this Ohio -5. So how many points are we going to run through here before it's time? And you're right, it's a shell team right now. I think the one thing that worries me also is, Georgia Southern's going to bring a lot of fans. They always bring a lot of fans to bowls, but Clay Helton's 0-5 against the spread in bowls. He just can't seem to get it done. But now we're in favorite territory here, so they could win the game, but actually not cover. So, and you mentioned teams that are on losing streaks coming into bowl season. Georgia Southern lost 4 straight to end the season, but it came to all bowl teams. That's different than Ohio, who won 3 straight at the end of the year, but it was to non-bowl teams. So, a little bit different here on who's hot and who's not. You mentioned Georgia Southern's leading rusher, Jalen White, expected to be healthy for this game. And then Davis Brin also played in this very bowl in 2021.
He was the MVP of the Myrtle Beach Bowl.
He was the MVP, 31-17 victory for Tulsa over Old Dominion. So there is some familiarity there. You asked Tim Albin, what are we playing for Ohio? He says, we need a 10th win. But that's about it. I mean, that there's really no positive news here. I mean, Curtis Rourke not only tweeting about Indiana, mentioning BYU is also a destination going on here. I don't expect any of these guys to play. The offense is going to be lifeless. I mean, what are we going to get out of Parker Navarro? I have no clue, because the best part of this Ohio defense all year was their passing success rate at 19th. Their quality drives were 29th. That was all on the arm of Rourke. He's not going to be there. There's minimal losses on the Georgia Southern side. They have a safety in the portal. And, the offense goes as Davis Brin does. His numbers were actually kind of wild this year compared to what he's posted before. He had 19 big time throws and 29 turnover worthy plays, a really low average depth of target. He likes to throw behind the line of scrimmage, but when he does go beyond the line of scrimmage, it's really been a gamble this year. He's made more mistakes than he ever has in his entire life. There's no pass explosiveness in this Georgia Southern team whatsoever. They're 132nd in pass EPA. But I mean, you can attack this Ohio defense just about anywhere. They have serious issues tackling. They're 103rd in broken tackles allowed. And Davis Brin's been pretty decent against quarters, and that's what Ohio uses. So when he looks downfield, Ohio's about 80% zone, and they almost always use quarters and cover 3. So Davis Brin should be okay there. The pace is going to be really slow. I agree. I'm on Georgia Southern. I've got that. But if you're just listening to this,
I like the under. I like the under too. Even I know that Georgia Southern's semi-fast, like relatively speaking. But
yeah.
Ohio is a absolute snail, and I don't see many. What you really want with an under in a bowl game is you do not want a ton of explosive plays, right? And I don't think there's going to be many in this game. And I just don't think that this Ohio offense is going to do much, and they're going to play so slow, probably run it. Like their whole offense was Rourke, because they had no explosiveness. They had no explosive receivers. Their whole offense was Rourke having to fit, and they couldn't run the ball. They had Rourke fitting tight throws into tight windows, playing within a phone booth. And now you're down to your, third string quarterback, which I think it's like a touchdown drop off. So I don't know how they move the ball, even against a bad defense. Georgia Southern's defense is not good.
Well, the under is a play because based on finishing drives and EPA, Georgia Southern has no explosiveness whatsoever. 48 is very key here, but when you look at Ohio, they were number 1 in defensive finishing drives in the nation. Maybe a little remnants left over on that defense that can keep Georgia Southern from getting into the end zone, who was 90th in offensive finishing drives. And, neither of these teams are going to have chunk plays whatsoever. So 48, right now, there are 49s, 48 and a halves out there. 48 is a very key number. Under is suggested. If you're just waking up and looking at the board now, I would do under 48.
Yeah. I like the under there as well.